CryptoZoo.co. I am so excited about this project. It's so fun. It's a really fun game that makes you money.
A fun game that earns you money.
Anyone following the Logan Paul versus Coffeezilla lawsuit might assume they know the story inside and out. However, recent legal filings have introduced new twists, from surprising text messages to bold motions that could reshape the entire case, and possibly the way YouTubers tackle investigative journalism in the future. 2 years have passed since Coffeezilla published his original 3-part documentary on CryptoZoo, Logan Paul's ill-fated NFT project. Despite initially threatening to sue, Logan waited until mid-2024 to file a defamation claim. That delay alone has raised eyebrows about his motives, especially since he missed the statute of limitations on Coffeezilla's earliest exposés. But the more intriguing development is how Logan's own legal strategy may have backfired, revealing unsettling details about how far he might go to protect his image and silence critics. Below, we'll delve into the latest court documents, including Logan's attempts to uncover Coffeezilla's private communications, Coffeezilla's counter moves to transfer and merge the case, and the newly leaked text messages that have further undermined Logan's position. In an era where influencers can rally millions of fans and potentially millions of dollars on a whim, this lawsuit could become a defining moment for online accountability. For the uninitiated, CryptoZoo was promoted by Logan Paul as a groundbreaking NFT game that would let users buy egg tokens, hatch them into unique hybrid animals, and potentially reap real-world financial rewards. The concept quickly lured fans, many of whom spent thousands in anticipation of big returns. However, as months went by, users discovered the game was far from complete, and many of those digital eggs were essentially worthless. Rumors swirled that Logan Paul had abandoned CryptoZoo, or never intended to deliver a functioning product. Fans who had believed in him felt betrayed, with losses allegedly running into millions. Coffeezilla, a YouTube journalist famous for investigating crypto schemes and financial frauds. Back in late 2022, he released an in-depth series on CryptoZoo, interviewing people who claim to have lost large sums.
How much did you guys make from CryptoZoo?
I lost around $50,000 in CryptoZoo.
I lost $40,000.
I lost around $15,000 US.
I lost $25,000.
$120,000.
$500,000 Australian, which is $500,000 in CryptoZoo.
Shut up! No, you haven't!
Yeah, 500K.
Oh, no.
He highlighted red flags, from disappearing developers to murky promises, and accused Logan Paul of failing his fans. Logan's immediate reaction was mixed. First, he threatened legal action. Then, after public backlash, he posted an apology video promising refunds and a completed game. Those promises never fully materialized, leaving many supporters disillusioned and paving the way for escalating legal battles. Although Logan Paul began 2023 with threats to sue Coffeezilla, he waited until June 2024 to file the defamation lawsuit. Texas, where the lawsuit was filed, has a strict 1-year statute of limitations for defamation cases, which meant Logan couldn't sue over Coffeezilla's original 2022 videos. Instead, he had to target more recent statements, ones that barely fell within the allowable window. His complaint reads, "As a direct and proximate result of the publication of the false and defamatory January 5th, 2024 YouTube video, Paul has suffered damages including injury to reputation, embarrassment, humiliation, emotional distress, and economic damages in an amount to be determined at trial." Skeptics argue that this wasn't a lawsuit over real harm, but an attempt at payback for Coffeezilla's ongoing coverage of the CryptoZoo fallout. After all, Logan hadn't finished the game or fully refunded investors, and he faced a class action lawsuit by attorney Tom on behalf of CryptoZoo victims. Some believe Logan's suit was designed to silence Coffeezilla, make an example of him, or both. Litigation in the US includes a stage called discovery, where both parties must share relevant documents and evidence. This process can be incredibly expensive and time-consuming, particularly for the defendant in a defamation case. Coffeezilla, a YouTube journalist, isn't backed by the kind of resources Logan Paul enjoys, which leads many to suspect that Logan's ultimate aim is to drown Coffeezilla in legal fees.
Coffeezilla. I watched her 3-part series called Investigating Logan Paul's Biggest Scam, and like many on this platform, you have successfully used my name for views and money. While your work used to be impartial, your addiction to clicks has clouded your judgment and you've made very real errors with very real repercussions. Coffee, you took a shot at my reputation, so in this video today I'm going to be defending myself.
From court documents, it appears Logan Paul wanted to compel Coffeezilla to hand over communications with a then unnamed third party involved in the CryptoZoo debacle. He argued this was crucial to proving that Coffeezilla acted with actual malice, a key requirement for public figures in defamation cases. Essentially, Logan hoped to show that Coffeezilla knew his statements were false, yet published them anyway. However, Coffeezilla's lawyers countered that these communications were protected by journalistic privilege and the First Amendment. Their defense also pointed out that Logan refused to provide his own communications about CryptoZoo, highlighting a double standard in discovery requests. It later emerged that this unnamed third party Logan sought information about was none other than Attorney Tom, who was leading the class action lawsuit for CryptoZoo victims. If Logan could see communications between Coffeezilla and Attorney Tom, he might gain insight into the strategy behind the victims' lawsuit. A judge reviewed the materials in person and ultimately ruled in favor of Coffeezilla and Attorney Tom's motion to keep those communications confidential. This ruling not only thwarted Logan's attempt to gather intel, but also strengthened the argument that the defamation case and the class action lawsuit were closely intertwined. With Logan's defamation case in one court and the CryptoZoo class action in another, Coffeezilla's lawyers argued that both cases revolve around the same core question: did Logan Paul orchestrate, or at least enable, a scam that harmed CryptoZoo investors? On April 15, 2025, they filed a motion to stay and transfer the defamation suit to the same venue handling the class action. By merging or at least aligning these cases, they contend the courts would reduce duplication of evidence and conflicting rulings. Coffeezilla's filings also revealed a deeper suspicion that Logan was using the defamation lawsuit to gather evidence for his own defense in the class action, all while punishing Coffeezilla. A crucial part of Coffeezilla's motion to transfer featured newly disclosed text messages from Logan Paul, who wrote, "Lawyering up, suing this blank into the ground. So everyone will see what happened, for better or for worse. Need to shut it down. Zilla will pay one way or another. I'll make sure of it. I want people who wronged me to suffer, while I continue getting wins on their grave." In one exchange, Logan even refers to himself as a petty billionaire. These messages suggest Logan's motives were more about revenge and intimidation than correcting any reputational harm. If a jury sees these messages, it could severely undermine Logan's defamation claims. If Logan Paul were to win, or simply drag the case out long enough to drain Coffeezilla of legal funds, it could have a chilling effect on investigative journalism and consumer advocacy in the YouTube space. Critics argue it would send a signal that wealthy influencers can file costly suits to stifle coverage, even when legitimate concerns of fraud exist. Should the defamation case and class action be merged or heard in the same venue, Logan might be forced to confront uncomfortable questions about CryptoZoo's mechanics. If a court finds the project was indeed a scam, Logan's defamation lawsuit crumbles because truth is an absolute defense. This could set a strong precedent for future crypto-related litigation, dissuading influencers from launching speculative token projects with little transparency. Conversely, if Coffeezilla prevails, especially if the court strongly condemns Logan's weaponized lawsuit, it might empower other creators who expose scams. It would show that attempting to sue someone into the ground can backfire, particularly if damning internal communications surface. A legal precedent like that could encourage more robust reporting on influencer-driven crypto schemes. Given how expensive and lengthy US litigation can be, Coffeezilla's team initially seemed open to mediation, a process where a neutral third party helps both sides reach a settlement. A successful mediation could end the defamation case quickly, saving both parties enormous sums in legal fees. However, critics note that Logan might have less incentive to settle if his primary aim is to bully Coffeezilla financially. Dragging out the process could force Coffeezilla to spend more time and money, potentially crippling his ability to continue investigations or defend himself in court. The court had set a June 26, 2025 deadline for settlement discussions, but this timeline may change depending on how the judge rules on the motion to transfer. If the cases get consolidated, the dynamics and the leverage each side holds could shift dramatically. The longer the legal wrangling goes on, the higher Coffeezilla's attorney bills climb, fueling the suspicion that Logan's real objective is financial exhaustion, not a clear judicial vindication. After Coffeezilla submitted Logan's text messages as part of the motion to transfer, Logan responded with a motion to preserve confidentiality, arguing that these materials had no relevance and were filed only to embarrass him. Many observers see this as Logan trying to reseal evidence that paints him in a damaging light. Yet once sensitive information hits the public record, it's nearly impossible to scrub away. The petty billionaire texts, in particular, might surface again in court, undermining Logan's claim that his defamation suit is about restoring his reputation rather than punishing a critic. Here are some of the potential outcomes that can come out of this lawsuit. Outcome number 1, merged trials. The defamation suit moves to Austin, merging with the CryptoZoo class action. A single trial might address both whether Logan scammed CryptoZoo investors and whether Coffeezilla defamed Logan. If Logan is found liable for crypto fraud, any defamation claim crumbles. Outcome number 2, separate trials. The judge denies the motion to stay and transfer, leaving Coffeezilla to battle Logan independently. This scenario could favor Logan if he continues to leverage his financial advantage. Early settlement. Both sides could reach a settlement to end the defamation case, likely with conditions on how each side can discuss the CryptoZoo controversy moving forward. Full-blown litigation and appeal, the case might drag on, leading to a jury trial. If a jury hears Logan's petty billionaire texts and decides the lawsuit is malicious or frivolous, Logan could face a counterclaim for costs or other damages. Logan Paul may have started this defamation suit believing he could easily overwhelm Coffeezilla, using superior resources and a carefully orchestrated legal campaign. However, his own text messages, along with tactical moves by Coffeezilla's legal team, suggest the plan might be backfiring. As the two lawsuits, defamation and the CryptoZoo class action, inch closer together, the stakes grow higher for Logan's public image, his brand, and potentially his financial future.